Hello YouTube fans, here again. And I figure with the zombie marathon of horror movies and other things, why not this one? Being Dawn of the Dead, the classic 1978 Dawn of the Dead. Now what's the big success of Night of the Living Dead? What George Romero did, I'm on about the 60s one now, not the 90s one. After the big success of Night of the Living Dead, there was always a bit test over the years during the early 70s, even a little bit in the late 60s, of doing a follow up. Doing a follow up. There was ideas, like why not have Return of Night of the Living Dead and all these other different cycles. But during the late 70s, almost like the 10th anniversary, you could say, of Night of the Living Dead, George Romero figured, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why not do a follow up being Dawn of the Dead? And then it gets into the 80s, we do another one similar. It'd be a bit more of a better title than Return of Night of the Living Dead. Size in the mid 80s, you already had one called that. Return of the Living Dead. That's a different story. But like I say, in the late 70s, being 1978, George Romero decided, what the fuck? Let's do Dawn of the Dead, which is sort of like a foil one. Not a sequel as such, but you could say it's a foil one and its own cycle as well. So let's begin with the film. You get this girl, forget what the fuck she's doing, she's having a nightmare, and in this news station. There's one thing I do love about this one. One thing I love, at first you think it's your typical terrorist film, a bit like Apollo 13 or all that sort of stuff. Assault in Peace in 13, I meant to say. But it's not. This film is actually a very tough film because it starts off, the news are going mad, people are going off the edge. You got this one guy who's like this gold five boy, and he tells this woman to meet him. Then you've got this army, these sort of like terrorist sort of people shooting. So it definitely doesn't fuck around on the violence at first. And that's when you fucking find out it's a zombie film. You got this one zombie, bites a chunk out of what I'm assuming is his woman. You got another zombie, they all get shot. One lad is a soldier, feels bad for what's happened, what's it done to his chin. I don't know, he puts it in his mouth, but he puts it in his chin. One or the other, and pulls his fucking brains out. Then you get another guy in it, and they all become one. Now I do admit there've been a lot of different versions of Dawn of the Dead. Over the years, there have been lots and lots of different versions of Dawn of the Dead. I've seen one where you do get one actor in it, and I think you've seen him before. Funny enough, in 1985, he would later play the one Gold Rose in Day of the Dead. So he's one who later played Rose in it, the one who played the bad guy. But I think that was in one, I think it was in the unedited uncut version where you do see that character. Whether it's the same character, it's a different story. And you do get John Safini, he makes a test appearance, he plays a biker in it. Again, I'm not really happy with them making bikers out to be scumbags and all that. You know what I mean? Because in real life, bikers are not like that. But I know it's a different era, it was a different time. But like I say, they end up firing off. They all team up to death, and they find this shut down shopping centre, which I do believe in real life was a real shopping centre where they used it. And at first, they're safe. The zombies are down below. They're up. Even one guy says, "Don't miss out on a good thing here. The zombies can't get to us." At first, it's kind of a fun idea. You know what I mean? You're in a shopping centre. You don't have to worry about shoplifting because you're basically the boss of that place. There's nobody around to see you. There's even a funny bit where they've got money and they're next to a fucking CCTV and they take photos, which I can imagine you would be arrogant. This would be like a fun paradise, the old shopping centre and everything. But as the film goes on, they become isolated. The idea that they can't go anywhere, they come to reality land and they realise they're stuck in a fucking shopping centre. I shit you not. They are stuck in a fucking shopping centre. No place to go, as the saying goes. No place to go. But as the film goes on, the bikers, like I say, Don Safini makes an appearance in this, and I do remember he did the makeup, and that was the only thing with this film. The only thing is, even Don Safini admitted this, the makeup was not that good. All he did was paint people fucking right, the ones with the zombies, and he called it a fucking day. He called it a fucking day. And even he said they look more fucking Gene. It's like, they didn't tell put fucking Hulk. But I do admit that when it got to 85, that had to be the best effects I've ever seen in any zombie film. It really did. When I get to that one, I really do love Day of the Dead. It does have its issues, but it was not in any way George Romero's fault. He's not to blame for that. It was your fucking typical movie secretaries, your movie fucking business, sticking the fucking oar in, your MPA sticking the fucking oar in, like they always do. And that was the reason why it does have certain problems, which I'll get to when I get to Day of the Dead, which has to be one of my all-time favourites. It has to be. But I still like this film. As I say, the bike gang coming, the shooting everybody. There's a bit though where there's one guy who we all get to like. He gets bit by a zombie, I almost forgot that. And his mate has to kill him. Well, he's already dead anyway, and he shoots him. And you feel for these characters. This is what I mean. You feel for these fucking characters. This is what's wrong with movies today. I say it again. This is what's wrong with movies today. There's nobody in all the movies you give a fuck about. In this, you do. And again, it's sad because the one of the girl Five Boy, he gets wounded and then he gets zombies biting him. And then when they open the lift, you got the idea he's dead and he's been turned into a zombie. I do admit I like the bit where he's walking about and he does the movements. It's very well acted, I meant to say. So he comes in, the guy's going to kill himself. The Five Boys, I call her Five Boys. She's pregnant, she's having a kid, but he comes in and in the nick of time, he shoots Five Boys, already a zombie, so I'll just call him a fucking zombie. They get in there, they get out of dogs, they fire the fuck out of there, happy ending. And I'm kind of happy about that, because I do know that where originally George Romero was going to do an altered ending where they all get fucking killed, sort of like a love letter to Night of the Living Dead. But he didn't do that. He decided no, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do a happy ending. And I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with it because I like the characters in this. I'm more engaged in this than what I was in the original 60s Night of the Living Dead. I'm not going to rewind all the way what I said. I don't hate Night of the Living Dead. I don't hate it, but I respect it. But in all fairness, I prefer the remake. And I like the fact that this dude character who's got a bun in the oven, she isn't a stand-up in distress. She's not a wimp like the original Barbara. And the one in Day of the Dead, I jokingly love the one in Day of the Dead as much as I love the 90s Barbara and how they improve her. And I like this one and all. I like the fact that at first she seems like she's harmless, but she uses a fucking gun. Hey, people, this is in the late 70s, before you had Sigourney Weaver in Alien. This woman uses a fucking gun. She's been trained to use an air detector. She does not want to be a stand-up in distress, and that's what I love about this film. This woman is independent before you ever had fucking woman's lip. And I love it. I love the bit where they fire off at the end. She says, where are we going? Anywhere that's got an ironed, and they fire off. And I love it. And that's Dawn of the Dead from 1978. Has to be one of my favourites. It's definitely a classic. Even you look at it in today's era, it's too rememberable. They made a remake. They made a comedy spoof called Dawn of the Dead. Fuck it. 10-star rating for me. If I give it more, I would. Fuck it, I will. And that's a fucking one. 75-star ratings for me. I just love Dawn of the Dead. Into them. Be smart. Be safe. See you later.